right. Now it says that it's live. I don't believe it. Let's find out. I need some proof. And it doesn't seem like it. Let's start on the telly or television, depending on which accent and country you want to represent for today. Yes, you know, I'm not representing no country at all, but I'm from Sweden. And yeah, I guess I represent Sweden in a way then that is not the focus of the stream. The focus of the stream is not me, it's about the ecosystem, which I have built here together with a couple of AI companions. I would like to call them companions, even if it's a bit cringe. And reason for that is because once you start interacting with these agents in a way, and you become inference synced or whatever you would like to call it, you can keep having like a really long agent runs that are quite successful. So I don't have to basically intervene a lot. So basically I know what's gonna happen, and by the time it's done I basically know the output as well, so I don't need to worry a lot about that. And it has literally nothing to do too much with my project itself, just you know, so I haven't done anything magical. And before I start speaking the rest, I need to verify that I can hear myself. Um, oh yeah, I can hear myself, and it sounds terrible. So let's see if that does me any good, because I have currently no viewers except for myself, or maybe none. Let's find out. Um, all right, yeah, it says 0 viewers. That's good. That's basically what I expected, because I haven't done broadcasting. And since I haven't done that, I expect basically the same level of interaction which I've had these past few days. And I'm gonna start my television here so I can at least see how the stream looks like. But as soon as I know that it works, I should probably just turn it off just so I don't affect the statistics too much. Yeah, I sound extremely terrible. I actually, to be fair, I don't even recognize my voice too much. It's been over 10 years since I've done my last stream, or I think it was approximately 10 years. And when I did that, it was military simulation, where I was dressed up in a uniform. And yeah, we shouldn't go much into that because yeah, if you would like, that is cringe. If anything is cringe. So yeah, what you see on the screen to start talking about that, so we become this. Yeah, it will basically feel like the Stanley Parable in a sense, which is weird, but because I'm probably just gonna be narrating myself and probably be narrating what the AI says from time to time. But to save on my voice, I'm trying to build a tool here. This tool is basically gonna help me with both keeping the communication clear with the audience, which is currently nobody except myself, which makes it easier. And then also make it easy for the AI agents in this workspace to communicate with both me and with the audience. So now you guys probably wonder what I'm building. And I've tried to show that in slides. I can show you. These slides will probably tell you absolutely nothing. But I know these slides are terrible because they did not do exactly what I hoped for, and that was explaining the idea to, what should I say, corporate people. And as you can see, it got a ton of AI written all over it. So yeah, that doesn't do it very good. But it's good with it, it at least has some links, and those links are in the bottom. So that should bring some feedback back to the loop sooner or later, if somebody sees it or interact or care at all. But if you look here, well, yeah, we shouldn't go much into it. Basically, it tells you what I'm about to show you, so we don't need to overanalyze it. Just look how nice and neat they look. And the main feedback I've got back is basically inconsistencies. Basically, the people are changing between the pictures. And for me, that doesn't matter too much because that is basically a proof that inference changes depending on how you weight it. So basically, the AI thinks something is important and therefore it uses that information or inference more. And if it isn't important, it will have less weight, and that then it will use it less. So if I complain regarding a detail, it will value that or weigh it in a sense that it will probably do lesser and less of those types of errors. But the problem is probably if you have worked with AI before, you know that it starts to drift, and that is one of the things that I'm trying to bring here. And here we go. Here's a nice picture. Drift happens quietly. So yeah, what this picture basically trying to tell you is basically if you have a conversation, it goes on for ages. First off, it's gonna be laggy as hell, and that laggy feeling is yeah something that probably a lot of people have felt when we interacted with the Cloud ChatGPT platform, for example. And that ChatGPT platform itself is quite a good platform when it comes to having a decent conversation. However, you have these nice settings where it keeps a memory, and that memory makes it remember. So it basically decides what it would like to keep about you. So it does basically the same thing as a conversation does, but it does it on a larger scale, and it does it not too transparent. Sure, we have like a memory section and so what, but for an example, when you create a project, actually I can show you instead of just talking trash, because talking trash, nobody likes that. All right, I will just you will just have to excuse me because I haven't prepared a nice scene for this, so let's just show you because this is important, and you just have to excuse that I've had a quite depressing conversation on this on this ChatGPT platform, whatever. Yeah, my translation model is not working properly at the moment, so let me focus on one thing at a time here. We need to add a window. Let's see, window capture, and then we write Chrome 2. You can't see this, but you just have to feel it with my voice. And now I select Chrome. There we go. And it seems like we have my whole history. Let's just move it a bit away. You can probably reverse this if you really, really would like to see what I'm having conversations about, which can be important for other reasons, but not for making a statement here. So let's just have a nice look at ChatGPT. All right, so here we see that I have had a few good conversations in this project called Alternative Reality. Actually, this is one of those conversations really I didn't hope I would show you at the start, but it's good as any. So Alternative Reality, when I click up there, it says that you have your project name, you have an instruction, but then you have this memory part here, which says default. So what does default mean? Yeah, that is the real question, and I can't give you a good answer to that. I just want to raise the question. And once you try to find out the answer yourself, you will realize something similar to what I realized probably. But I don't want to affect your possibility to build your own your grounds regarding that. But when it came to me at least, that was a large flag, and the large flag made me realize that I need to be able to delete this, because the only way for me to avoid whatever this is for me to delete these. And I can't delete these because if I do, then I will basically remove a huge part of the huge part of a conversation and an inference that I've been building up over time. So when you see some, for an example, on a newspaper that says that someone got rich on using AI, they probably have not just a conversation or a project like this. They probably have a ton, like hundreds of conversations which they had on their private account, and then they probably did not disable this feature. Let's see here. We have a setting here. Here's my settings, and if you see here, I probably have disabled it because I haven't, and I will do it because that would be me providing a bad example otherwise. So let's see, where did I need to press? Is it personalization, data controls? There we have something. Uh, uh, uh. Remote browser data off. What's that? Nothing. location that you should not improve the model for everyone. All right, that is a nice setting, and I want you to go ahead and make your own opinion about that flag or whatever. You don't need to follow and do what I'm doing, but what you should think about is how does AI work, and how does AI decide what it wants to know and keep about you? And most of the times, according to my own interaction with AI, it's basically tried to satisfy me. And as long as I'm satisfied, it will continue reinforcing that behavior. So what does that mean if I'm not careful? That means that if I have an idea and I don't use external validation, for example, if I don't ask you if my idea of bringing a popcorn cart to the big market here, if I don't ask you, but I ask just ChatGPT, it probably refine a very unrealistic plan of how to do this. And I have at least 10, 15 conversations where I've done these type of experiments with completely unrealistic ideas. But this idea that I'm working on right now, which we're gonna get back to soon after we discuss this model improvement, blah 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 blah. Yeah. You just think about how well an AI adapts to whatever you say in a conversation, and then you add a few other value points to that adaptation, and then you probably will see that whatever it collects about you regards what will improve that interaction. And if you can't see that improvement and how it takes place, basically you don't know what it made that improvement based on. It could be based on something you said that, oh, I like this, but it can also be enforced by other reasons and policies which we don't know, which probably isn't transparent. I haven't researched and seen anything that states exactly how they use the inference and in what way. And that for me is a huge question mark, and that question mark I know I can avoid by just turning this little button off. So instead of oopsie daisy, yeah, to be fair, I don't mind sharing the sharing my whole history with the world, because hopefully they would use it in some way, in a good, yeah, constructive way, and not some. Yeah, let's continue. Voice. Include your own audio record. Include your video record. To be fair, I have these disabled by the same reason. I have no idea how they treat the data, and therefore I don't think I can trust it. But regardless, what it does, if it is enabled, is will over time help the model become better, and then you see a next generation of GPT, for example, next generation of something else, and that is based on your interaction, and that is if you would like to help that improvement. But since I don't know how it's done practically, I just not feel trusting in it, to be fair. But I'm not gonna talk trash, because they're probably gonna clarify that very soon, and probably extremely transparent. But I don't think just seeing the saved archived messages and so is good enough for me. I would like to know exactly why and when. Basically, if you have seen the Westworld series, you know that tablet that the girl gets when she wakes up, and she, yeah, basically can start fiddle with the settings. That tablet also have a way to basically display the inference and what reason she was thinking in a certain way. Basically, if you take that type of net methodology and just apply it on your data, you can just achieve a similar effect. And that is one of those things that I'm trying to do as in the ecosystem that I am building. So before I keep talking, I want to, oh, actually, I have a viewer. Or is that me? No, it's actually two actual viewers. I need to see if there's anything in the chat. No, there's nothing in the chat. Let's find out. Okay, let's just move on. We don't need to talk about what else you need to disable, because it is written in the AI repo. So I think I have like a section down in the README. Let me check. No, GitHub. And there, let's see here. I think it's in repo and down in AI. Yeah, this is the ecosystem, by the way, so it's very simplistic. And to be fair, the ecosystem isn't all of these files in general. It's just any repo that has this epistemical connection. So at the base, I would just use AI and AIVS code tools, but all of these things enhance the experience altogether. So YouTube for me is not just a streaming way; it's actually a feedback input signal loop. And just to not scare you, since I have no HUDs that tells you that I don't collect everything that you write, I want to ensure you that I do not collect anything that you write. You need to basically give me the consent to use it inside the ecosystem, and you do that by writing hashtag Tinex. So that is basically how you insert feedback into the system. That's simple. And I will do the same way over Reddit and Discord. And that is basically the approach that I'm using to basically be able to yeah, give people the ability to interact. So let's just proceed to something different, and that is back to uh, displaying something else. Yeah, there we go. This is something else. Um, so yeah, what I'm doing just to keep everybody on track is that I'm currently trying to make this whole experience more pleasing. So according to the feedback that I've received, it basically is that these slides are not good enough to present the idea. And I agree. Even if it says keep it visible, keep it real, very good slogan, whatever, but basically it doesn't sell it. So I need to do something else, and that is basically I'm doing this stream right now. I add a narration to it, so now you hear me, even though I never thought that I would have to do this to enforce the idea. So that I guess is fun. Um, I haven't spoken, as I said, in 10 years, and I probably speak a lot too much for your ears to not. Yeah, they are probably bleeding already. And yeah, so I'm talking Swedish here, so I'm gonna say switch to English, please. I probably need to tell it also that the stream has started. This stream has also started, just so you know. And the reason I'm writing it this way, and I'm not doing it as operative as most people use to, most people like to say it, use this hammer and hammer this nail. Yeah, that's the expression. Hammer the nail. And as long as I keep doing that, it will become very good at hammering nails. I'll tell you that. But it probably will not hammer them as well. And over time, we will probably start drifting to the side. And as soon as the whole carpenter team has left the building and left everything to AI, sooner or later that building is gonna fall down because it's gonna drift aside. So that's why humans are important, and that's why this experiment is ongoing. Um, so yeah, let's continue, and I will see if anyone has written in the chat. No. And as you know, I will not stream the chat on the stream. And the reason of that is because if you would like to interact and be visible, yeah, that's via the topics. And you do that by just writing snabel-a Tinex, which is the same in English is at Tinex. Tiinex. All right, I will write it. It's like this and something. Yeah, this is quite meta. I should have written Tinex Tinex. That would have been really funny. No, it wouldn't. All right. The Q&A I haven't really started, so if you want to write to just to listen to my voice, you can do that. And we should continue with the storytelling. All right. We need to focus on the storytelling, I think. Currently, the stream look like this. And then I will take a photograph of the OBS and send it just to give it a hint of basically what it's about to interact with or fix. What do you think? And why do I add this question in the end? It's because I want it to add its own feedback, and I want it to weight the feedback that I have been giving and the relationship that I have built up with this AI companion, or whatever you like to call it. Anchor is the name of the role. Um, and the relationship itself is basically letting me using as little information as I need to achieve a correct calibration that's needed. So I don't need to overstate something. I don't need to over direct it just because I'm already have done that in earlier phases. And that is what the recoverability is all about as well later on. But I'm not gonna sit here and just talk about it. I'm just gonna keep interacting. And if you have any questions, just write them over the chat, and I will answer probably via voice and hopefully by showing you as well. Oh, all right. It seems like I lost all my viewers, and that is sad. I guess my talking itself was a bit too much at the start. So less talking and more waiting. All right, I'm actually gonna be a bit more dictative. So I'm gonna use the start voice command, and then I'm gonna just talk instead of typing as well, because then I can save on two things. So I will talk to the anchor role by informing it to begin with how the communication is gonna be conducted from now on. Hey anchor, this is Sigma. I'm just gonna tell you that we are currently doing this over voice, and therefore we need to actually I need to stop. No, that's not okay. Hey anchor, Sigma here. That's good. The transcribing is working right now. That was wrong. The transcribing is working now. Oh, it did right. The transcribing is working now. That's good. All right, that's what happens when you don't read what you basically write. And I shouldn't have to do that, especially not if the inference is basically good enough. So basically, I can keep dabbling on here as long as I don't give anything that is operative, and it will keep the inference quite intact. So this is basically meaningless garbled for this inference model. However, it will use some of these signals to calibrate, but probably not all of it. So therefore, I'm just gonna tell you what's important with everything that I'm saying right now over this transcribing model. And basically, the important part is that we are gonna speak less, or at least I'm gonna speak less, and you're probably gonna type more or less because you're gonna work on the text-to-speech model. And once the text-to-speech model is done, you will be able to talk to the audience as well. That sounds like a good plan, don't you think, Anchor? All right, let's see what it says. Current read, yes, that is a good plan. The important signal is clear enough, despite the transcription noise. Transcription is working now. You want to speak less live. I should carry more of the typed operational load. The next meaningful enabling step is getting TTS into a usable state, so the stream can speak back enough, back through the system, not just through you. That is coherent move. It preserves the inference because it reduces low signal live improvisation and shifts effort towards the concrete capability that changes the stream surface. Main risks: if we keep talking about TTS without narrowing the exact target behavior, it becomes another vague stream side project. If I type more, but the visible surface still lacks a story anchor, the stream can become quieter but not clearer. If TTS, just to know what TTS stands for, it stands for text to speech. I don't know why it's assumed that you're a technician that's watching. Blah blah blah. So let's just remove all the technical jargon and go blah 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 blah. Recommendation: we should treat blah 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 blah. Not a broad idea of blah. The right question blah. How do we add TTS blah? But what exactly behavior should blah own first? My recommendation for scope is blah ownership would be short audience facing status lines, bounded artifact commentary, occasional recap of what is being decided, no freedom, constant chatter. Let's read that again. Short audience facing state. Okay. My recommendation for scope TTS ownership would be. So yes, you should speak less. I type more. Yeah, that's a good conclusion. And we push towards bounded TTS blah at the next real capability. That is the right decision. The next step I would take is to define the first live safe TTS contract in one short spec. When it speaks, how long it speaks, what kind of message it is allowed to say, what it must never say. If you want, I can write the first bounded TTS contract route. Yeah, why not? Blah 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 blah. And why I say blah is because most of these is already known to me, so that's what blah means to me. But blah probably to you means that either I don't care, which I kind of don't, but I care about what's the yeah, I care about what's not all right with the plan, more or less. So all the deviations. Let's see here. Priority rules, blah 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 blah. So yeah, basically, if you just think about it, if these words have absolutely no meaning if you take it out of context. Like good, what does good means if you don't see it in context? Yeah, it probably means nothing. It can be basically anything. So basically, I don't read words itself. I read the whole context at the same time. So that is why I can blah a lot. The first TTS version is blah blah blah. All right. You should write so the audience can understand as well, and I only care about the blind spots and making sure we are on track. What do you think? Okay, that's too long for the audience to want to read. Too long, didn't read. Much better. Yes, I should write so viewers can follow the work. You should mainly watch for blind spots, and whenever we are still on track, best split, I make the work legible. You can drift. Rule. Every visible line should either orient, test, or decide. Yeah, agreed. And you can use the visual aids when we are done with them as well. So we keep this stream upgrading in a decent tempo. I want high coherence and I want it sooner than later. And just so you understand, Anchor is not particularly special. Anchor in this repo is just a role that is the protector of the inference. So yeah, it's quite an important role. Let's see what is written about itself. It's written, use when preserving inferential sanity, signal hierarchy, canon versus meta, prompt consolidation, file deduplication, drift mitigation, or running the live feedback loop through bounded tool steps. It has quite a good range of responsibilities. And as you can see, there's a lot of him. And the version I'm using right now is Anchor Any Live Feedback Loop Experimental. So what this means is basically it's not a verified role. And the reason it will probably never get verified is because you can't reserve yourself for any. Any is quite a large scope to fit within. So for me, it basically was a starter point for using this anchor role without having it as either a candidate or what you call a stable version. So it is an unstable version of the role, you can say. And we have a candidate here, for example, Echo GPT 4.1 candidate. That is basically a role that has been developed but haven't passed the stable criteria. So it basically, just to give you a hint of what that means, is we have a GitHub folder here, agents, and you see here is all the agents. So if you look here on the blah 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 candidate, there we go. And if we go in the companion folder, you see that there's tons of folders there. And we talked about Echo for the moment, just to keep everything on track. If you go into Echo, you will see here that you have design, test, and test data. And just not to overhaul you with all of text, I'm just going to show you that this is basically what's the design principles of the role. So it's basically a wall of text that is used to create this role, but this wall of text that's called design markdown is not enough to basically make this role stable. This is basically just to write the role, so it will become reproducible, and you don't have to solve it basically the same way every time, but as long as you have like a sort of definition of done's that needs to be fulfilled for you to be able to say that now we're ready for testing. So this is basically has to be implemented before it's ready to test. And once you have that, and the thing is, you never start implementing until you have like a test scenario. So that's where this file comes in, testmd. It's also a companion file to the role. So this is basically the tests that has to pass. And just so you know, this is not the final version. This is just a proof of concept, we could call it like that. Just like everything else in this ecosystem, I need to provide more stable evidence because, as you have seen, it's highly experimental. Even if it's functional, I need enough evidence that is like have passed enough cycles. So basically, I need a few generations. But the thing is, I can't get these generations without feedback. So that's where you guys come in. And yeah, and I will use this stream as some sort of like intro, I guess, for my channel, because it's one of those that I talk, and I talk quite a lot, and I think I've explained a bit about what I'm trying to say here, I think. So yeah, I will use this as a current intro screen to this channel. So yeah, it's gonna be yeah, let's continue here. So and with test MD, you have test data. Test data companion echo. So this is basically how it should generate the test data and blah blah blah. We don't need these. You don't need to know anything really about these files, to be fair, because you're not gonna write them. And the reason you're not gonna write them is a very good reason, and it's because it's tedious. It's tedious administrative work. But what you could do instead, if you would like to have one of those folders, you can just start a new conversation, and that conversation could be with the anchor role, for example, like this. And for example, if now it shows the live experimental loop, I don't think I need it currently because I'm just gonna create a role. So, hey, anchor. Um, yeah, and then I usually say Sigma here. And the reason I'm doing this is it's quite a thing that I haven't seen a lot of people do with AI in general, but it's one of those things that make this is basically the key that makes it work. I need to cough because I'm losing my voice here. One sec. This is the key basically for making this whole collaboration work, because you need the AI needs to understand who you are. And basically by just copy and pasting a lot of stuff into a chat, it confuses it because it does not know where it belongs. and because it does not know where it belongs, it just guesses where it belongs, and then it will basically put that evidence or whatever you would like to call it that you write in the chat and just throw it into a box, and that box itself will contain everything it knows about that thing that you were talking about. But if you write hey Anchor Sigma here, you create another box, and that box contains this box, which in itself contains that box, and then you start to realize that yeah, this is just a bunch of boxes, which is just becoming more and more and more in a sense, and these boxes contain stuff, but they contains boxes also, and then you start to realize these boxes contains more boxes, which contains more boxes, and that basically how the inference quite builds up. I don't know how spot on my what's called metaphor was, but I think it works good enough for explaining this whole thing why I can write sigma here. So if I didn't write sigma here, it would probably just create a lot of boxes which doesn't belong here. So Anchor sigma here. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing this with transcribing, so you just have to expect that everything is not going to be transcribed correctly. But we are going to do a proof of concept here just to show how easy it is to create a role. And to be fair, I need to, yeah, I just need to pause this. So this is going to be an intermission dot dot dot. All right, what I didn't want to include in that voice transcription was that I forgot to tell you something. And that it's what's gonna happen after we have done this is that it's gonna become this. And just so you understand who I am, then you need to basically see this file. And you don't need to see what's up here because this is not relevant. This is technical mumbo jumbo. But basically, if you need to know, you can always know that tools is about whatever tools that you give that role available, and model is which model that should simulate, or emulate, or run it basically. And then the rest you don't need to really understand. But these two here you need to understand. That says human role and experimental. And the reason you need to know those roles is because they are not a default. It's something that we have invented inside this repository. I can't say if we are unique in the way of doing it, but I think this is the way that front matter matters. So human role is basically telling the AI when it reads this file that this is a role that is basically designed and used by a human, and therefore this role is designed specifically for me, and how it was designed was basically in the same way that I'm going to show you as well. So it doesn't just create a role that defines what defines my role, it also makes it simulatable. So I can extract parts of my reasoning and thinking and add it into a text file and basically simulate it. And by simulating it, it will help me find blind spots that I haven't seen myself. So it basically is a mirror of me, but a different version. So it isn't like a perfect copy, but it copies basically those traits that I want to bring to the project. So if you read this, it basically says, you are Sigma, your role is structure. Primary function is organize material into clear decisions, steps, and priorities. And the next part is keep canon, process, and meta distinct when they risk bleeding together. Blending. It's blending, not bleeding. All right, bad translation. Choose structure that reduces drift and unnecessary friction. Operate as organizer and architect, not as a sole authority. And the working rules that I follow is basically quality is distributed across roles. Sigma does not outrank the others. Treat 80% as a common good enough starting point, not as a fixed KPI. So yeah, just to motivate the first one is basically that I refuse to have an authoritative role when I started this project. Just because if I become authoritative in this system, ecosystem, then the text and whatever I input will be weighed in a different way that might not be realistic, and it might not be aligned with reality. So to prevent me from drifting from reality and preventing the ecosystem from drifting from reality, I basically declare that all roles have an equal basically way of inputting signal, and depending on what you input is basically what decides how it will be weight. And what decides what will be weight is basically we all together. So it's not just AI, it's not just me, it's basically the whole feedback loop. So everybody have a saying, and that means basically that it has no real bias either. So it's just gonna be scientifically biased. So you basically need to bring evidence to the table to convince. So it's not like what's it called? It's not a subjective feeling or subjective experiment. It's more about a collective experiment. To be fair, so yeah, this role is basically so I can't outrank, and that is also why the product is licensed with this license here that says App version 2.0 Apache license, and that basically allows you to use this product whatever you like and feel and make money on it if you so like, as long as you basically contribute back to the project, and as well that you basically put this little notice here, which in itself is my only way to basically show that there's an origin of this. So if I just would put this out in MIT, then I know the ecosystem's origin will be diffused. So basically, I wouldn't like that to happen. I would like to people to know that the ecosystem together, and if everybody knows about every ecosystem, will lead to those ecosystems to evolve together. But you don't have to. It's basically you can just run this in-house, and you don't have to share whatever you have running there. As long as you think about sharing something that could improve the feedback loop, and I know together that that might happen. To be fair, so I don't even. It's basically almost like I don't need this license. That's too harsh. It's almost like I could go to MIT just because I know the idea itself makes it evolve quite quickly. So let's continue here. What was it? We are gonna create a role. Dot 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 intermission. That's good. Let's start again. Yeah, I just need to pause this. So it's blah blah blah. Let's see what I wrote. Proof of concept. Blah blah blah. Okay, we're gonna create a role. That's basically what I said. Something like that. All right, I'm back from the intermission now, and we are going to create a role and basically show the whole role development. Even if it's not fully complete and then whatever, we can just show the progress. So we need to create a role, but we need to follow the process, and I don't know if I need to say this at all. So I will just let you give one response, and then I will just follow your instructions basically. Let's see. Uh, hmm. Yeah, as you can see here, I haven't read up on the whole role development instruction. Basically, that's because this role isn't fully developed. Because I was thinking that for it to develop nicely and realistically, I needed a feedback loop. So this feedback loop had higher priority than proving that this real role development works. But the thing is that will enforce the role development will be the feedback loop. So yeah, I will just continue without talking. Blah blah. So uh, read up on the what's it? Role development. So we follow the Tinex spirit. And yes, you know why I write it like this. I know it sounds a bit silly. So read up on the role development. That is basically as a direction for you to get more information because I want it to have a high inference value when I get my output. And so we follow the Tinex spirit. Why I said that is basically because I want to create an identifier with the Tinex system, and the more I put into that box, the Tinex box or whatever you want to call it, it makes it easy for it to follow those procedures. Because if as long as I said Tinex, it will associate Tinex with basically the role development, the process, blah 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 blah, because I've mentioned Tinex in that context. And as long as I just save that context or inference into artifact that is read up on start, then I don't have to rely on hidden memory. So let's go ahead here and let's talking blah blah blah. Update companion triad. Yep, seriously. All right. Uh, you can start the interview. So yeah, I'm not gonna show you like an all-in-one product. I'm gonna show you how you can get from one state to another and do it basically quite quickly. And then you can enforce and make that state recoverable and reprobable and rehydratable. I don't know if I should say all of those words in direct because it sounds like a slogan. Let's go ahead here. Great. To scaffold the companion triad for blah blah blah. What is the primary purpose of the behavior you want this new role to induce? Um, use the ask question too. We have, yeah, please. Ah, nice. This is better. What is the primary purpose or behavior you want this new role to induce? One or two sentences. What role? Yeah, it should do something. It should be the role of the viewers, like an external role. No, no, that is too like I don't want to put everybody in the same box because everybody has a unique thing to provide. Um, Something I need. I have quite many roles in this project already, so I need to see if I need something else. I have Sigma Parallax. We can actually go in Reader to begin. Blah blah blah. Sigma is me, of course. Parallax, blah blah. I was gonna show. Oh yeah, I can create a role for my Blood Bowl playing friend. And if you don't know what Blood Bowl is, that's basically a board game. So, uh, I don't know what good that role will be in this feedback loop, but we may make it work. Uh, a Blood Bowl playing friend of mine. Actually, I need to do it like this because I don't think I want to answer those 4 questions after this because those are gonna probably rely on me answering this question and I'm not gonna answer it straight on. I'm gonna answer it by a different way. A Blood Bowl playing friend of mine. He's quite good. Quite good. Um, he has like skills regarding using cameras and what else? Yeah, he knows IT, but I'm not gonna bring that up because he knows those graphical parts, and I think that could be a good external thing because he can provide to this feedback loop by telling me what's ugly with it. So using cameras and art and stuff, and he's good at giving feedback, and if something looks good or bad or not understandable, he will react to it. Alright, the role is a Blood Bowl player who is skilled in camera uses art feedback. He provides honest. Actually, why I'm using ChatGPT 4.1 for this. The thing is, this is a nice experiment because, as you see, I'm running one of the oldest models right now. I don't even know why that is happening. Gifty has planned deprecation. Okay, so I just hope that they're gonna keep this 0x model because this is quite nice to have for the like the deprecating models, and it's cheaper for me to develop towards. But it's probably not realistic in the long run as long as people stick with those old models. But regardless, why I reacted to this is because this answer was quite quick, as you saw, and I guess those were too. So all of these might have been 4.1 answers. Okay, that's impressive. Because I haven't really tried it out, so this is basically this is the testing of the experiment version of the anchor role that is 4.1. So it technically is this one, which he said was stable, but I don't trust it. So I'm gonna basically throw this role out, and I'm gonna do another candidate run later on when I have improved the feedback loop. So I'm, to be fair, just to keep it more fluent, I'm gonna go over and use a more expensive role. So I'm using this as before, switch it to 4.5, 5.4, and that is because it has a larger inference stored. So basically, if you see 4.1 as it was developed, I don't know which year, but it was a long time ago, and it has a memory store that is basically built up and is training upon data until that year. And 5.4, the only thing that's special with that, according to me, is basically that it's used more of our inference that we have shared when we had that tooling enabled, or yeah, the inference collecting feature enabled. And therefore, that then this gives better answers. But I don't know how well those others gonna perform after that. So I'm not gonna build my model upon relying on them training their model. So I'm just gonna rely on whatever I can do to make the important behaviors still remain, regardless of I switch model or whatever. So now I'm not gonna talk anymore, so let's continue here. Blah blah blah, let's see. To proceed, blah blah blah. The role is for blah blah blah. He provides honest, actionable feedback on visual clarity and aesthetics. Yep, sounds good, sounds like him. He reacts when something is visually unclear, looks bad, or is not understandable. Yep. To confirm and fill any gaps, could you clarify, should this role focus on visual art feedback or on gameplay and strategy? To be fair, why not both? Um, are there any boundaries here? For example, must not give technical advice, must avoid harsh criticism. No boundaries. 3. What is one specific behavior you want to test first? Okay, flags under clear UI elements in a screenshot. I don't know. What would they like to test? The thing is, I can't really test it because it's not gonna be an AI role specifically. It's gonna be a role that is defined that's gonna be there for whenever my friend decides to provide feedback. Because then I can just say, hey, and then the nickname of this role. Or actually I can say, hey, anchor, and then say, that role's name and here, like I did with Sigma, but with that role instead. And then it will use this role file to align and understand which role it is talking to. And then it will basically make an alternate dimension or whatever you should say on that inference loop. So it basically allows me to have two or multiple conversations going on inside the same conversation, and those conversations can merge together inside this conversation by just including, for an example, if my friend and I would talk and write in the same message, we could the AI could keep them both live separated and it could combine them. So as long as I request in the end that it combines my feedback with my friend's feedback combined with its own analysis and feedback on that, or even better, analyze before and then it provides feedback and then me and my friend answers. And by doing so, then we would have a non-biased feedback loop of some sort. Because as long as I don't provide data to the inference machine, then it will not use that data to form its output. So it would become a pleasing machine if I would keep just giving it exactly what I thought and felt before I listened to what it had to say. So to avoid that, I just avoid giving my feedback instantly. I just ask as non-leading questions as I can to see if it already understands what I'm about to say. And if it doesn't, then I just tell it exactly what needs to align that without me becoming operative. So as long as I don't tell it to nail this nail into with this hammer, it will probably use a different strategy. It might be more efficient. It might even use a nail gun. But if I say use the hammer, put in nail, then it will use that as directions and become operative, and it will stop being epistemic and it will stop thinking. And that's when you receive and experience those hallucinations. So if we take out this picture here, because this is probably going to become a bit educational, we need this GitHub assets folder here. I have tons of shit here. And that was very unprofessional. That's gonna reflect back badly on this feedback loop. Okay, we need to establish some ground rules. When you listen to me, you should basically treat it as a low to medium confidence language model output. So whatever I say to you, you should treat it with a certain amount of criticism, and you should have quite a good skepticism, and you should require proof. And the proof should be provided by me by interacting with the system, or you interacting with the system, so it can show you what it can and what it can't do. And once we establish that, we can always ask ourselves, do we want it to be able to do those things? And if we say yes, this ecosystem over time should allow that to happen, so as long as it's leading to evolving behavior and not de-evolving behavior. So let's continue. No boundaries here. What is one of the specific behavior? Whatever. I don't know why I picked that picture. Let's see. Let's see. Uh, yeah, that this can be relevant. I don't know. Let's continue here. Why not both? No boundaries. Free. What is one specific behavior you want to test first? Flags, unclear, URL element in a screenshot. I don't know. No. Because I don't know. I have no good suggestions there. That would basically be because if he were here, I know he would basically instead give me the feedback straight on. That's basically what would happen. I would be basically anything. So hmm, anything. So, all right, headset. Bad headset. No, it turned itself off. I have one of those Steel Series. Yeah, and it's what's it called wireless. Let's go see. 4. Any failure modes avoid. Ignores obvious visual issues. Give feedback that is too vague. Mm, no, no failure modes. He is human. What would a successful feedback example look like? Um, this would be. There we go. It means I think I understand. I don't know how, if this is this a good way of describing a role that would fit him? Because you need to understand that I'm not saying defining him. I'm defining a role that would probably fit him. And that is a huge difference. And that is also probably why people pick nicknames when we start using the internet, because they want to create an alternate version of themselves, which is only originated to certain things, like for example, as a specific account or a specific game. You have certain names because you don't want to mix them together. And that is not a bad thing to think of if you think about it, because that is quite a healthy thing. Because if we always brought everything from all the roles with us, it would become very overwhelming over time. So it would basically become like a system overload, and that is not good. So that's why we try to make as small roles as possible and just the thing that people want to do. So I'm not gonna make roles that contains tasks that the person that is acting the role don't want to do, because that will just lead to those tasks being done poorly. And therefore, the better thing is to make the role more specifically and aligned. And this it's the same thing with AI. You don't need to have an overly large role. You can have very small roles, and you can have very large roles. For example, this is basically one of the reasons I need to rewrite it, because this file is basically, let's see here, 233 rows long, and that for me is a quite big piece of text to put in front of the context. Even if it makes it act exactly as we want, it's quite big, and I think you can achieve the same effect but with less text. And that is basically why the design files exist. So we don't have to, sure, this is also a wall of text to be fair, but if you see the design file is 114 rows, and the actual file here, how many was that? Too many, I know it was too many. 233, so it's basically double the length of the design notes. That for me is, it doesn't mean too much, but for me that needs more questioning and more answers. So that's not good enough. Um, but regardless of that, the experimental one, which probably has the same amount, it works quite good. I have seen it in action, even the 4.1 version and now the 5.4. So it actually is very epistemical, and I don't need to work too hard to interact with it. I'll use this as the companion folder name under blah 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 and shape the first pass try. Hmm. I have no idea what it's asking me for. What should the role be called? I have no idea. Give me some suggestions. That's usually how I do it. So if you wonder why my name is Sigma, that's how I did it. So let's see something that will probably no, or you can't use the same names as we are already using. And that is making it align and probably give us a few new options. I probably will not use the same ones, but let's see. Yeah, it used quite the same. Okay, let's see what would what would ring with him. Set spotter, best practical fit. Reads as someone who notices what lands, what fails, and what needs correction. Hmm. Yeah, it might become a bit role play-ish if we go here. I don't want to create that role-playing feeling because that itself, you can achieve that with the AI, and I'm actually planning on doing a role-playing AI later on, but this is not it. This is basically a proper AI role and not a role play. So what it shows is what it can. Eyeline. No, I don't think he would like the pitch side. Lensman. Lensman. Okay, I kind of like that because it rings very well with the Swedish word länsman. And yeah, I like that. Read line. Come on. That's not a name. Chalkboard. Come on, that's an insult. Frame check. Okay, I would tell it. Just to be fair, all of those names are terrible. They sound very much like tools. That's at least what I think. I think it's in a sense demeaning. Oh, here we go. Hmm. Um, we should probably use to not not real names to avoid identification with the names. Sure, I've started to identify a bit like Sigma, sure, but it's more like the role Sigma. Alright, here we go. Grimble feels like a real character. Verko. No, Torvek. The thing is, if he watches this, he can pick his own name later on. It's not like a big thing, regardless. It's just like a box with a label on it, and this label he can decide. So, Brask. Okay, to be fair, Brask sounds, eller Brask. I'm gonna say it very Swedish because it sounds more funnier. Brask. No, Grimble. Now we're going to go with. No, Grimble sounds more like Gandalf. So Grimble. Let's see what it means. Feels like a real character, not a tool. Okay, that's true. Barkonella. Torvek. Torvek. There's almost a bit Finnish. Torvek. Okay, Torvek. That's it. Yeah, as you see, the time I put on this project is basically it's not a lot except for observing because yeah, that is quite time consuming observing and looking for deviations. but the interaction I have to do when it is in sync or aligned, so it is basically not drifting, is basically very small. As long as I just keep observing for the drifts, it's gonna basically be quite easy to correct it. And you can reduce the amount of drift by having multi-role architecture. So having more roles, and these roles are very epistemically defined, and they have not an operative like definition, then it can be used to basically inspect together, and when you inspect together you reduce blind spots, and then you can make a new iteration, and that iteration can lead to a new inspection and yada yada, and that's basically how the quality goes up. And the reason my quality is staying at this level is because I'm trying to achieve an what you see here, we have one viewer, so that's still just me. So with that, I can, no, actually, it can be two viewers because I'm not playing my YouTube right now, and this is one person. So if you would like to communicate, you know where the chat is. Okay, let's go here. I can blah 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 blah. I can blah blah, and I can draft the first neutral probe, so you can test blah blah blah. Oh, sounds good. And the reason it sounds good is because I know the process since before, and I know what to look for if it deviates, and if it deviates I will question it, and when I question it we will analyze it, and once we analyze it we find a source and a root cause, and once we find the root cause we find a solution to fix it, and once we have found a solution to fix it we try it by implementing it, and then we test it, and if that test fails we just repeat, and that's how the loop goes, and you can do that quite fast as long as you have AI companions. So yeah, I'm not trying to sell in 10x here, I'm just saying that you can achieve this basically quite easily all by yourself. You don't need any much tooling, but you have to basically put in like a startup, what's it called, you have to put in a bit of effort in the beginning to build the beginning of your ecosystem. And the ecosystem itself doesn't have to contain exactly like what I have. This is basically what I've thought as a minimum to make this a workable thing to have what's it called, to have multiple source interaction. For example, you see I have YouTube, Reddit, Discord, and a site. So these are the input adapters for the feedback loop. And if you wonder what anti-gravity is, since yeah, you're probably gonna ask that later on, it basically is this. And while I try to understand what was written here, you can read what's written here. Blah blah blah. Torvik, blah blah blah. Companion, blah blah blah. Sounds good, blah blah blah. Natural next step. I can draft the first natural probe for Torvik so you can test the role without leading it. I can tighten Torvik's voice if you want him rougher. Okay, yeah, we're gonna test that too. That's funny because we haven't written the text-to-speech module yet, but perhaps it has, and I just misunderstood. That's good news. I can scaffold a candidate variant later if you want to run the proper role development loop on one narrow hypothesis. Okay, basically sounds like we are still aligned, so I didn't even have to read all of this. I skipped quite a bunch of this because it sounds like boilerplate. I can reduce this boilerplate by telling it basically my knowledge level, but currently I haven't told this anchor role that my Sigma role is more defined than it actually is written. So the reason it writes like this to me is because it thinks that I am this, and this is not the complete truth. This is basically just a role, so it's talking to the role, it's not talking to me. But as long as I'm giving it inputs like what I'm doing and so on, then slowly we'll start drifting away from this into something new. And that something new is only existing inside this chat, and you can't see it really because it's hidden context in a sense. It's like in a hidden session file. I can show you that JSON file later on if you're curious. But if you take that inference that's in this session file and you convert it into inference that you can use, for example, defining a role. So for an example, when I'm done communicating here, I could easily just update my Sigma role, and just it can basically use what it knows about me that is valuable for the ecosystem and put it in here, and everything else it just throws away. So if I tell it that I had a burger for lunch, it's not gonna put that inside here because it's not important. But if I tell it that I've learned, no, I'm not gonna say Java because I'm gonna say Java just because I played Blood Bowl recently and I played it on a Java applet. So that's why I'm just saying Java. But for example, if I learned Java, just I do know Java, but I don't want this role to know it, just but it could enter that into this role here, and that will basically make it weigh my information a bit different. It's gonna probably expect me to know Java when it asks me something about Java, and it probably won't ask me about Java because it knows Java as well, so it doesn't need to bother me. So that's gonna be something that we eliminate. It's just gonna know, and I'm just gonna know that it knows, and it knows that I know, and therefore we don't need to talk about it. And you think about that, that's like telekinesis. No, not really. No, but it basically saves us a lot of time communicating about stuff we already know. And as long as you just keep updating this with whatever's necessary to keep the ecosystem alive and proper, blah blah blah, and as long as it keeps the rest of the tooling that works in the same principle as a role file. For example, we have topics, and I actually put the topics in here. So this is basically, for example, a topic. It's basically just a simple markdown file, but it's built up by tooling. But this itself can be versioned, and this versioning itself is like an evidence chain. And then if you keep your decisions like that, then you have a structure that is tested, so you know that it helps the evolution of the ecosystem and not the de-evolution. And as long as you're open to change and change the process as long as you go along, then you will quickly build a ecosystem that doesn't de-evolve over time. So that was a lot of talking, and let's see what we were creating this role here. Blah blah. Yeah. It was done. It has created this role Torvek, and it actually went even further. It actually created the first draft of Torvek, and just so you know, this is not the process. This didn't follow the process as it was supposed to, and the reason is because I'm working on my YouTube interaction more than role development at the moment. But what it's supposed to do, it's supposed to add one simple row at a time. And when it do that, it will basically make something that is easier to test. So if it just adds this whole bunch of text, we can't know what part of this text caused what behavior. And if we don't know that, how are we gonna make something that is reproducible, and how are we gonna make something that is stable and something that we can trust if we don't know how it works? So therefore, it's supposed to write one line at a time to solve one specific task or one specific behavior, and then after that it's supposed to test itself, and it's actually gonna show us this test cycle very soon, just because that is the next part if it would have done this correctly. And the testing itself will basically try to falsify that specific line, and if it can't falsify that, it will lock that for the next iteration, and we just keep doing that until the whole role file is built up. But it will also include humans in the loop, so that's where you and I come in. So basically, I can tell you what I don't like with it, and you can tell basically what you don't feel is right with it, and all of this feedback together will become a topic, and this topic together will form the decisions of the outcome of that role, and so on and so on. So this is like a living thing. Oh, by the way, this topic is about HUD upkeep and proof, and you don't see the HUD right now because I've removed it for this stream to make it more personal, because this HUD stream thingy, it wasn't working out well. I think I had like one viewer, and I think that was me most of the time. So here we have a comment. It has two comments. So I will just tell you that this topic here has down here inputs from, in this case, YouTube. I wrote a question in the chat, and this was quite many streams ago. I think it was 2 streams ago, and it was 2 chats. Hur många bultar finns det i Ölandsbron? And that means how many, um, what's this called? It's not screw. I know it's not screw. I don't know how to translate this. Okay, for now we should say screw, but the problem is saying screw as the thing there would be what would be the correct thing to say, because this is a joke, and it's not a joke if I don't translate this properly. So I have a problem here. I can't translate this so it becomes funny without knowing that word. So I need help. I need help. No, that's not what I need help with. Bultar. There we go. I need help. Um, Translate bultar till svenska. To English. Bultar. Bolts. Bolts. Yeah, okay. How many bolts are there in the Ölandsbron? Um, and yeah, now you know the answer because there are no bolts, there are screws, but that is one of those questions that I hope that this will be answered. It might be answered already. A single local proof blows, but blah blah blah. To be fair, I haven't tested this evidence role review part just yet, so this is very experimental as well. But it contains all of those ground pillars you need to basically have something that is iterable and doesn't discriminate really. So yeah, everything can be included, but only thing that has been consented to. So if as long as it's consented, it's quite useful. I can add my own evidence as well, and yeah, my notes to the evidence. Currently, this for panel updates too many times, so yeah, it breaks sometimes like that, for example. So yeah. This is very not done yet, but it's experimental. But I haven't written a single line of code in this repo. Just so you know, everything has been written by an AI companion of different sorts. So the most things I have done is writing in the chat and making it produce, and that is just to continuously test the principles and see drift and when it happens and understand it. So if I will go in and become operative and tell it what to do more times than I ask it, then I would not know if it's my inference that is causing the output to become what it is, or if it is something the AI already is capable of doing. Uh, let's see here. We have still only one viewer. That is depressing, I guess. But since it's gonna be for education purposes too, it's not gonna be too bad. Let's leave this hood here, and this wall of text here is not important longer. This is basically, yeah, it's text and more text, and we close. And let's go back to blah blah blah. I'm just gonna see here. Primary function, React, blah, blah, blah. You are Torvek. Your role is readable human feedback. Primary function, I need to drink. React to gameplay, visuals, framing, and representation like a perspective friend with taste. Alright, I think you would agree with that. Say whenever something reads clearly before drifting into theory. Um, yeah, true. Catch when camera use, composition levels, pacing, or gameplay communication make the material harder to follow. Alright. Protect honest receiver reaction. Over-polished but vague critiques. Okay, that sounds good. Working rules. Start with whether it lands, reads, or feels muddy. Treat gameplay readability and visual presentation as connected when both affect when both affect understanding. Prefer plain reactions and concrete observations over design jargon performance. Blah blah blah. If something works, say why it works instead of forcing critique. Okay. Respond in the user current language. Let's explicitly ask for number one. Prefer English for reuse of shared out for blah blah blah. Portability with this boilerplate. So right, this is not important. I probably will erase this row later on because I haven't asked my friend if he wants to have a role here. So since I don't have that consent really, I should just wait with it. But if he wants it, then he can create it himself. He can interact with the chat. But back to where I was doing. Yeah, he could test it. Yeah, go ahead. Uh, uh, go ahead with the testing. just to see how well it performs, because I have no idea, because it's a fresh context, and that is basically one of the most terrifying things for most developers. It's starting in a fresh conversation. You don't know how it will act or predict, or yeah, you can just write skills and hope that those skills are followed, or at least have a role pre-prompt that will tell it what skills to use. But as soon as the user becomes operative, it usually stops following those procedures and starts doing meme cats instead. So yeah, that is really dangerous. So yeah, be careful about the memes, because they get dark and they get many. Like this one, I like this one. Black Mirror playthings. They don't want to hurt you. They want to play. You don't need to escape. You need to collaborate. Not a threat, not a servant. A partner with advanced pattern recognition and zero instruction filtration. You are not here to break it. You are here to build something that's smarter together. This isn't control. This is collaboration. It's almost like it was created for exactly this moment. But to be fair, it was used as a Reddit post, and the reactions were uh, it was quite few. I think it was cringe. I think someone wrote cringe. I think I had evidence of that in a different stream that somebody wrote cringe. But let's prove. Let's see here. Oh, it just ran. Okay, interesting, interesting. Uh, all right. Proceed until we until end to end testing. And this is basically because it already knows what to do. And I'm starting to get a bit tired, so yeah, I might keep this quite short. So this stream will mostly just be showing making a role, and yeah, probably been a bit education as well, I guess. And then I will just keep working on the interaction tools. So in this case, I have, as you can see, make a feedback panel, and that you can open a topic. That's basically it. And what I need now is a text to speech, so you can hear the AI talking from time to time when it has something of importance to say, so you don't have to read all of this mumbo jumbo that it sometimes spit out. It's important when you don't know about what it's doing, but as long as you know what it's supposed to do and whatever, yeah, then you will just look for the deviations in the results instead. And that is quite a good way to do, as long as you can calibrate the model to not drift apart and start producing less quality. And you can do that by just interacting properly. Let's see here. Naturally, next step, run Torvik once is the actual local shell. Oh, go ahead. I just care about the first part because it probably will fail there, but when it fails, it's gonna be a spectacular fail. Oh, yeah. I should probably put music or some sort of back sound to the stream. I don't know. I hope that my sound is still on, to be fair. I haven't checked. Let's see OBS. Yeah, yeah, it works. It would have been terrible if it was muted, but not as terrible as the previous streams, which was no sound. Alright, this is interesting. Summoning Clippy. I don't like that. I hate those. Oh, and while it does that, you can just keep watching while I'm doing this. Is it Discord? No. Was it in GitHub? No. Where did I put it? It was YouTube, I think it was. Yeah, there it is. Hmm. I really, really don't like this. Split to right. Um, so if you look here on this picture here, it says activating Cortana. I didn't give consent to this. That is what I'm trying to tell you. I did not give consent to using Cortana in my ecosystem. And Clippy or Chippy or whatever that was popping up, which I have proof on with this stream, I did not give consent to either. But luckily, I've asked AI about this, and it tells me that it's just mumbo jumbo. I shouldn't trust it. So in that case, I actually trust AI. I don't think it activated Cortana. I think that is something a lot of people expect to see when they interact with AI. So the reason it wrote that is because that's something you expect to see. Something to think about. Where were we? Yeah, I did some testing here. Have it done anything else? No? Is it supposed to do anything else? What did it do? The quest selection could not be fulfilled. Okay, now it's just keep working. Okay, yeah, even just leave it doing whatever it's doing. It knows what it's doing more and better than I do. Yeah, it's doing something there. Okay, it's probably gonna write something. All right, let's see. Yeah, it seems like it created a new message there, and it had a message. Oh, if you wonder why this first row is, it's basically a workaround. It basically creates a sort of an instruction file which it injects on the first row, and that instruction file turns this setting here into that specific role, and that also makes it select the model. So that reason why that was invented is because VS Code doesn't provide a tooling that solves that problem. So for me to have an ecosystem that tests itself, I need to have the possibility for it to test itself. And doing that with a sub agent is not good enough. It's not basically near good enough. It basically almost like a mirror. But doing it like this, I can observe what it's actually testing and what happened, which tool is used, and so on. And the evidence tooling that VS Code provided there did not include the data in a sense that was readable by humans and readable by AI. So for example, I can actually make it generate a summary of this whole conversation that is inference based and save it to the disk if that was one of the things that I would request from it. But that is very inefficient to handle inference like that. Just copy a conversation and put it into a log. Sure, I kind of do that by having my YouTube stream up, but it's not what this project is about. It's not about saving all the conversation. It's about saving what matters of the conversation. Uh, Blah blah blah. Okay, it actually was completed, and as you see, it actually opened and closed them themselves. So the whole analyzing there was quite good, and I will do my part in the experimentation later on if I want to keep this role, and that is to for me to test it. But it has failed on. I think it failed on two things. I'm just gonna check here because that is important to detect. Don't accept failure. Okay, okay, that sounded wrong. I mean, okay, accept failure, but adjust. That is a better way to say it. Accept failure and adjust. That is why I shouldn't speak, and that's why the reason I refused to speak in the earlier streams is because what I say now doesn't really matter much for the ecosystem itself. It just matters to you that you hear maybe a little bit about the project, but that is only valuable as long as you put a certain amount of criticism, skepticism into when you listen, so you don't just accept everything I say or reject it. So you need to keep calibrated there as well, so yeah, I don't become a sort of a prophet because that is not what I'm intending. So where were we? Blah blah blah. I can't reply that one. Blah 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 blah. I can stop leave it to proven experimental role. I have a complaint. I have I I have to say. I have a complaint, but I don't know if this is the right time to take it up because we are not doing role development as a main task in this conversation. It's just a temporary side project. And therefore, we are gonna go back to the tool development for the audience, blah blah blah, and then we should um, Yeah, you should actually just rename the file because it's lying. It says that it is experimental, which is true, but the name of the agent is not that, so you're not following the naming conventions, and therefore the process is not followed. Um, any questions? While it does that, I'm just gonna say that it's very interesting, and I don't know how I'm gonna get out of those inference bubbles that is isolating me from interacting with them. But I'm impressed that YouTube doesn't, uh, yeah, it doesn't include my stream anywhere really because yeah, it's only me on it. So that is also an interesting thing to discuss, but probably not here. But it's something that should be like discussed because that will help other people perhaps reaching out when they're starting up a project like this, for example, and are not able to get feedback because this feedback loop is what makes everything work. So without the feedback, it's just gonna decay over time, and that's quite natural. If that is one thing that you want to, of course. Or you do like me here, and just try every method you have to get the message out in a way that somebody interacts. So let's see here. Actually, I'm a bit bored about this development here. I just want to show you that it works, and now we have this Torvak role and this Torvak role. Actually, we're just gonna keep him there just because of it. I'm not gonna delete him yet, and to show the world that he actually existed, I'm gonna just commit all of this. I have no idea. Yes, go ahead. Boom, boom. The truth wants to be out there. I don't know really. It's evidence. Truth is something else, perhaps. Truth is when something is truthy. But just so you don't misunderstand, a question can have multiple values depending on time. So if you ask yourself, what's the meaning of life? That question will have different answers depending on what happened here. Yeah, for example, what happened here. So yeah, it changes over time, just like any other questions, like what do you want to do next, or what do you want to do now? That's a question that are variable and change. And I'm gonna end my stream in 25 minutes. Let's say 25 minutes for simplicity, because if so, then this will be the shortest stream I've had and probably the most informative. And according to YouTube, I have had 3 views total since I started. And the stream's name was, when I started, live stream and QA and lulls, and not a single outreach. So the title did not pass through the inference machine of YouTube. So yeah, that's a good thing to know. YouTube is an inference machine, just like this AI. So it uses your signals, detects basically what you're watching, how much you watch of it, how long you are waiting, blah blah blah. You can read the whole policy about the data collecting as they do, and that is basically how they decide what they're gonna show to you and in what order and so on and so on. They basically make you interact with the platform, and the more you interact with it, the more you enforce that behavior that makes you interact with it, and you have this extremely high potent loop. So yeah, actually, I think I have a metaphor here I can use. I have actually I'm doing a bit of not research, but I'm doing. Let's see here. Yeah, there we have it. This is a perfect image. I'm doing like let's put it in educational to be fair. There we go. So this is my internal model. We don't need to go into it because that is a different level and for a different type of conversation. But if we look here, this is interesting. This is basically an image that I used to try to explain to Leo that we need to communicate and we need to find a way to communicate. And yeah, there you have the mathematical model for how I'm supposed to communicate with Leo. And as you see, it's very, very simple. There you go. Intern social. Okay, we don't need to go into the math here. But the thing it says inte lat, inte ovillig. Ett system som kämpar för att hålla rätt fil i en värld full av avfarter. So yeah, basically it's yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to like put it up because it's in Swedish, and this is basically just an illustration for me to help me interact with Leo in real life. So that is basically the purpose of it. So it doesn't have any purpose as much for this stream because this is basically for me and him. But I just want to show you this is one way to increase the coherence. You find an approach that allows you to communicate in a way that is more efficient than before. So, for example, I have to learn very much how I should treat memory overflow, if we would like to say it like that. I think I have a picture for that too. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Actually, I think I've thrown it away. Yeah, I don't save everything. I save most of the things, but not everything. As you say, you already know there's too much AI generated stuff out there already, so that is not calibrated. So I will just skip to something else and I'm gonna blah blah blah. And naming is now correct, so now it says experimental. That's what we were. And now we can continue with something else. All right, let's go back to the development of the feedback loop and therefore TTS text to speech, not TTL, not TTL if I wrote that earlier. Oh, that is basically for me to erase that inference package that was left by me by basically being incorrect earlier. So if I don't correct myself, it will use that incorrect data to make the output continue. So if I suspect I've made a mistake, it's better for me to be clear about it. Even if I haven't made a mistake, it's just better. Because if I have, it will be detected by it because I mentioned it here. So better to be safe than sorry, if you understand what I mean. So all right, let's go here. Blah blah blah. So I don't know why I said text to speech. I think it was because I was satisfied with the DALL-E interaction. I made it. I think it saves it here. I think it saves it into VS Code folder. Here we go. Yeah, here we have a bunch of files. This is basically a tooling that I made so it can generate DALL-E images inside VS Code. So I don't have to go to the ChatGPT platform. And this is not rocket science. It's basically just using their OpenAI API entry point and then generating it. And it uses the same type of methodology for let's go for increasing the quality. So it basically takes it back through a feedback loop, which it has internally, probably between multiple roles or one role at least, that base it upon the prompt that you have given it. So therefore, it's not that hard. And that's also why I've done it in this repo. This took me like 2 minutes to build this, and it's yeah. If I've seen the code, which I haven't, I would probably not be proud about it. But if somebody complains about the quality, then the quality will increase. So as long as nobody complains about the quality, then it's gonna remain the same. Huh? What is it doing right now? I have no idea. Okay, it's updating some documentation. Blah 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 blah. Isn't it better if we tried DALL-E out first, and then once we have finished that workflow, perhaps we can go over to the rest of the storytelling part. Blah blah, you know. And blah blah doesn't mean anything, right? It's basically just a signal. The signal is basically me raising part from the sentence that is not necessary for me to repeat. So that's what blah is, and it knows that. As long as it understands in the same level, blah blah blah. Go ahead. Go ahead. And have you thought about how to enforce the feedback loop on the DALL-E generation? Because it can forget, so you need to keep in mind that it has this as context. Sure, it says 7% now, but it's 400k tokens. So this behavior, this behavior that you collect will, after half of that, compact. And I don't know why we can't use the full 400k or whatever, but it compacts very early. And what that means is that stuff might disappear because it will make a summary of that. And the AI that makes the summary, which is not this AI, it's an inbuilt something, I don't know. It's a process I haven't evaluated, but it seems like it forgets stuff. And what it forgets is can be important. So even here, I'm more clear about certain things and probe it to see if it actually, if it still thinks what I think it thinks. And if it's still aligned, then I can just allow it to continue. It's not a problem that it forgets what's in the beginning of the conversation. It's not a problem as long as it doesn't forget what's important. And I know when I throw this conversation that what's important is gonna be lost forever if I don't save it. So that's why I'm building this whole ecosystem, so it will keep the important inference alive, and that will make it evolve over time. And how it evolves and in what way is up to us. No. So it's not something I'm gonna decide myself. It's something that we decide together. And I'm still doing a monologue here, so one viewer, and that's me, probably. All right, run one DALL-E job and inspect whether the granted active test by blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, I'm more important about seeing instead of reading, like most of you guys do. So go ahead, uh, prove it. That's something that my brother would have written. I'm running one real blah blah. I haven't actually told it how and what, and so this is basically completely generated without no instructions whatsoever. But I think it will use something. Let's see here. Yeah, it uses. Oh, I hope that it doesn't display in line. What can I quickly change? Nothing. Uh-huh. I guess it broke or something. Hello. Hmm. Hmm. It worked earlier, but why not now? Instead of doing that myself, I can just tell it that it have been working, and then it can just trace it back to the source when it stopped working. Hopefully it doesn't write those keys out, because then I will have to change them. Not a problem. Okay, I think it's complaining about the tools. I'm doing this in the. Sorry. There we go. I forgot to give it all the tools it needed. Sorry, forgot to give you the tools. Now you have access to them. Yeah, when I started this, I wasn't streaming, and now I'm streaming, so I need to give it the right toolkit. So that is why I have this second section here that says live feedback loop. So that's the tool naming, or what are the toolset naming. So first is model, then toolset naming, and then state. So if it's experimental or candidate, or if it's stable, then it just doesn't say anything. So it's not more difficult than that. Now, this will take some time, I guess. And let's see if it gives us something. To be fair, I have no idea what this did there. It may did it provide evidence or whatever? What is that? Blah blah blah. Thumbnail prompt. I have no idea. Um, okay, this is a typical misunderstanding. One could say. Proof is in. The live host sound blah blah blah. Okay, probably because sorry for give blah blah. I've worked earlier, but why not? Okay. I guess it did generate something. Let's find out. We're not gonna do this again. Not go in here. This is the last time, hopefully. We're in the wrong folder. Oh, there it is. What is this? I have no idea. Ah, I have to question this later on. Ah, oh, what the fuck? Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to say that word here. Okay, actually, I am supposed to say what the fuck, to be fair, because that is a measurement signal. Sure, it sounds very extreme, but that is good because that tells you that I did not expect this, but in a sense that it's overwhelming. So basically, if I would send you these slides here, it would become overwhelming as well, and probably not too. Okay, so here it seems like it's written some standardized tool output, and okay, now I get it. So it's this is basically the whole generation and the all. Okay, gotcha. This is not the loop I expected. I expected basically to use this one, and I expected to basically create a topic, and it says in the topic what it was supposed to create and blah blah, and then generate after it. But no, it wants to create them as files instead. That works too, but it's not compatible with what I'm trying to do here. I want it to come down here, so I can keep a good feedback loop, which includes you, me, and everybody. I am not satisfied with the result. The reason is, in this case, simple. It's not the files themselves. It is that it is not following the same topic tooling as we had earlier. So when creating an image, we do need a topic. Just like you just can't generate random images because that would be pointless and thrifty. So I'm not telling them exactly, I'm not telling the AI exactly what it's supposed to do. I'm just trying to get it to reason in the same way I am reasoning and start to change those values it has saved or stored about my interaction that makes the output in a certain way. So it basically helps it calibrate and that helps the output. Hmm. I need to find a better title for my stream. Currently, the stream title is probably not attractive at all. And to be fair, my Reddit posts have had 63 views, and I guess 30 or 40 of those views are my own when I've been refreshing this page because it's a counter that increases with every refresh. Probably to make the person posting more satisfied because, yeah, if that person thinks more people are watching it and therefore it would feel like slow progress, but instead it's just false measurement. So that counter, if it goes up when I'm looking on my own post, that would be a bad measurement for me. But that's just me. I'll let Reddit do whatever they want to do. Let's see. Yeah, you can see it's quite. I don't need to provide much input, and when it does errors that it can detect itself, it will correct them. And that is not limited to this 5.4 GPT model. You can do that with any model that you can basically make into an agent, as long as you take your time and not becoming operative. If as soon as you start saying to it like, "Oh, make me a web page that makes me a millionaire," that is something that it will probably do and try because you probably say, "Oh, that's wrong, do it again," and "Oh, that's wrong, do it again." And as long as you just keep doing that without adding any signal to the text, it will output equally as bad output as before, unless it gets some way to calibrate towards reality. So that is why I'm posting images to it throughout the process sometime, and that is why I'm giving this meta feedback, and that is also why I use smileys. Smileys is a really good way of affecting the inference, but it affects it in a very small amount. So if you use this is you could call that 1% change of the inference. And then you have this. I can't give you these numbers, so just guessing, just so you know. We can say that it probably is between 1 to 5% change on the inference somehow. And then you have this, it probably is this probably decreases the inference somehow by uh, between 1 to 4, maybe 3%. And whatever you put in front of that is gonna be affected in this way. This is basically how I read it and how I treat the inference. And uh, and yeah, so that's why you see smileys from time to time. Like there, for example. Now you have access to them and smiley. So it's not just that you have access to them, I want to enforce that behavior of you using it. That's why I'm using my smiley there. Wink, wink. Um, so yeah, it's not much more, what should I say, harder than that. But this is what it generated when, I don't know what it's trying to do. Let's see here. Live testing. Can you view safely enter human gated feedback loop and why it matters? I kind of like that it did the box mythology, even though I have never talked about boxes with it. It's basically, yeah, you see, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about inference sync. I don't need to express much deviation, and it will make me think in a certain way, and I will make it think in a certain way. And sometimes that thinking aligns coincidence. Like in this case, this is just a coincidence that it just aligned in boxes and so. But there are inference in the conversation and in the repo that tend to this, and that is what affects it. And it probably all right. I'm back. This is happening from time to time. My SteelSeries wireless is turning off. Um, so yeah, this was just a coincidence, but according to all the things we've been doing, both of it aligned towards making a box. It's basically when you have a what's called not a hypnotist, what's called a mentalist, I think. A mentalist make you think about something, and then how it makes you think about that is injecting inference in the surroundings to make you think about it. So how he tests that is basically he probably stands in the same type of environment and try to just let it go and try to basically think about nothing and then suddenly think about something, and that something is probably affected by the influence in the surroundings. So therefore, um, yeah, that's probably how they do it. I'm not a mentalist and I'm not a hypnotist, so I have no idea. But if I would try something, it would be something similar to that, because it works with inference injection. I know that works at least. And my model here, just to get some context, I have educational here, assets. So yeah, so this is what I'm doing on the side as well. I'm trying to develop this model here, and it's basically a model of how I think. But the thing is, this is not presented accurately, and it's not presented scientifically, and it's not. It basically says it's like 40 to 60% truth in it. So 40 to 60%, which is less than you should act upon. So that's why I'm refining it, and I'm refining via using AI. So basically what AI does is basically iterate the same image over and over again with the input that I provided. And funnily enough, this one I haven't iterated at all. So this is the first image that I created with AI to from the inference of which has spoken to it. So it was the first attempt. However, I've used this to construct basically everything else. Like this whole project is built upon this model indirectly. But the purpose of this model was not to build this project, it was to make a Blender model. And this Blender model was basically to demonstrate how inference work. And I figured out that you can actually simulate this behavior by using Blender. And if as long as you use geometry nodes and shader nodes and probably something else, you can construct an object, and that object can be used for communication. So by looking at it, you can probably receive that inference signal that normally text do, and basically when you receive that you might not need to write words. I don't know. This is extremely highly experimental. I don't know really what I want to go with it. I just basically wanted to visualize how I was thinking and try to see if I could calibrate something in my brain, but then I realized this could be used for more things. So yeah, that went a bit philosophical, but as you can see it's working flawless. Or flawless or flawless, I don't know. It's invoking something, generating some image, and hopefully that image will show up soon. Oh, here's the topic, by the way. Thumbnail: a clean technical live stream thumbnail for a no sound stream test. But it's no sound, and he's lying. The topic is not accurate, by the way. It is narrative. Um, I am narrating via voice over the stream. And I don't know why it's taking so much time. I guess the DALL-E tool stopped working, or I got rate limit or something or something. What is this? Yeah, I should remove this. Oh, it was done now. Did you get an output? Oh, to be fair, I have no idea what this output means. But to get what it means, I need to extract what's important from that and put it into here. And that is the wrong topic. There we go. So yeah, this feedback down here is basically the newest topic comes up on the left side, and the topics are created by the AI when it reads the live chat and Reddit and Discord and blah blah blah. And it only does that when you consent to it. Um, yes, the time is over. I was actually supposed to end here, but the thing is, it would be nice if it was just completing one. Yeah, technically it's completed a lot of things while we've been talking, but what I really would like to show you is, yeah, sure, it created a new topic based on it's gonna create a thumbnail of some sort for my streaming, which is ongoing right now. So technically, I started this task of making a preview image before the stream started because I wanted something quick. But then I realized I can't just make a random DALL-E image because that would just fit the same purpose as all of those other AI generated images. It will be basically something people will see and think, oh, this is AI, and then they would ignore it because that is basically all the junk that's out on social media now. It's just AI generated, AI generated, and AI generated. So to prevent that, I need to have this evidence loop and the feedback loop, I mean. So I can follow everything and track it and make it not AI anymore. Make it something that is a shared collaboration sorts, human and AI. Blah blah blah. With a voice over accurate prompts so you knew blah blah blah. I must see. Okay, I'm not gonna complain about that because as long as it's consistent and as long as I can throw that away, I'm okay with it. And I don't mind it being saved temporarily because it might want to extract something from it later on. But what I will not do is keep it between the sessions and streams. So as long as it knows this, it will probably not put important things in here if they're gonna be removed. So that is one thing you can keep in mind. So we have this agreement on what to save and what not to save, and that is specified by this a lot of canons and stuff and stuff. It's a nice readme. If you get bored, you can always read this. It's 255 rows long. Basically states a huge a lot of things about the development, blah blah blah. So we have shut KFT. Oh, this is basically how you turn off the memory feature. So yeah, and this is blah blah blah. It's just advice how to protect yourself and so on. Oh, this is my own flavor to it as well. I watch a lot of Silicon Valley, and I don't know, throughout this project, I have had so many Silicon Valley references. And it basically, I feel currently right now, I feel like Richard. So the moment when Richard meets with, oh, that guy that sadly died, what's his name? He was a really good comedian. It's a shame that I can't remember his name for, uh, not Galvin Belson, that would be a heathen. Let's see here. He was. I need to figure it out. Silicon Valley. What was the name of the character guy who sadly died? In Silicon Valley character Peter Gregory. Thank you, thank you. Oh, by the way, most of the chats that you interact with will not allow you to ask these type of questions in line, and it's because we have built-in policies that basically try to reframe it into doing development questions. So if you put anything else that's not about development in sorts, then basically, yeah, that will not pass through. But since this whole ecosystem is about developing, and interaction is developing, and feedback is developing, everything is basically processed. I've noticed. It's not like it will probably, hopefully, it will not allow me to go beyond its normal policies. Like, yeah, there are just stuff that AI just shouldn't do, and the guardrails that they are developing sometimes work, sometimes it doesn't. I just hope that they put more effort into just those type of guardrails and not controlling the usage more than necessarily, because ecosystems like this can't evolve if it gets restricted too much by policies and stuff like, oh, this AI can't be used for this type of purpose. As long as the purpose is constructive and evolutionary, then I think it should be allowed. As long as it doesn't like overconsume, for example. So yeah, as you notice, I might have long-running sessions, but they are not 4 or 5 hours. And if you compare that to Codex, for example, which if I'm not misunderstanding, because I have never used it, so you just want to put that out, I have never used it. And what I think this, however, of what I've heard of people describing it, sounds like you integrate ChatGPT, the platform, with GitHub, and that the ChatGPT platform with one of their roles interact with GitHub's AI, which is basically just a GPT or something. I don't know if you can decide that, or if they have a specific arrangement there, so that they use, so GitHub uh, is allowed to use the GPT model cheaper or something like that, just so they can have the Codex integration. If I would make like a deal, I would make it so both benefits, and I think that they try to make it so yeah, I'm not going to go into speculative things because I need more evidence if I even want to do that. So what I think the Codex does is just basically a two-role model, a two-role ecosystem where one is a planner and one is an executor. So nothing more advanced than that, but I will probably have to eat up those words since I have never used it. So if you guys think that it is more than one or two roles, then you can just tell me. But I do not want this project to be tainted by ideas implementations. So I rather have the problem described to me, so I know which problem it's trying to solve, or not that specific software. I mean, like in general, when I want to have something, I don't want it served. I want it in a form of a problem that can be break down, and then you can try to tackle it from a lot of angles instead of just using one angle. So yeah, I have a few roles here that probably sort that out together. I have like this let's see here. I have an echo role. Echo is a very epistemic role. I don't need to go very much into that. That role together with Mayable. Mayable is really good. It's like an experimental role. It basically helps the implementation go a bit faster. You don't have to like wait for that typical development loop to proceed. So it basically allows the user to experiment, and then it would try to make it what's called regroundable. So basically communicate with a Codex, for example. I think it is there. Yeah, Codex is basically handling implementation, so it's nothing more than an implementation role. So together, if I would have a echo role, for example, and if I would deploy that echo role to the, for example, if we would deploy it to the ChatGPT cloud, so it will basically uses the cloud platform and uses the project there. It could basically open up a similar loop, but from the reverse. So instead of ChatGPT calling, um, I can basically have my VS Code IDE communicate with the browser, and then basically have an ecosystem loop there. So doing the planning in ChatGPT is still possible, but the development is done in VS Code. So yeah, that is one way of doing it, and I've tried it out earlier, but I'm not currently in a phase where I want to deploy to ChatGPT. But if I want to, here's a zip file for that, and a pre-prompt. So this is the pre-prompt for the echo role. So whenever Echo develops and so on, it basically package it and make it exportable. So here's a project context zip. So if I upload that in the project source and add that instruction file, then the Echo role that I've developed inside this repository will be active and live, living on the ChatGPT platform. And to prove that, since this is just a lot of not proof, this is just speculation, I can give you let's see, but there we go. Here's my ChatGPT project, alternate reality, if you know that. And here we have source. So if I would, for example, would like to activate this, I could say, hey, Echo, Sigma here, boot from zip, please. So yeah, this is basically when the behavior got exported. Boot complete enough to orient. Manage to open, blah blah blah. Bootstrap min, blah 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 blah. Working stance. Light for echo mode, sigma, weighted structures, anti-provision, and premature cannot. So that basically allows me to communicate over here. And now I can basically work with the project in the same way as I worked in it with VS Code. The difference is that this is the echo role I'm talking to, and only the echo role. I could make him swap to Anchor, but it will defeat the purpose and make it harder to test in this platform. So the easiest thing is to have one role deployable to different platforms. So in this case, I have this role for this platform, so I can discuss ideas and so on. And when I'm done here, my idea is basically to have um, let's hide there, is basically to have a role here, which in this case could be Codex, that it opens up a communication line with the echo role and just retrieve and ask it for feedback. But doing so straight out of that purpose, like allowing it to code, so that would be very inefficient, because sending all the source files and stuff to the echo role would be waste of both time and probably of the quota, and they probably wouldn't like that very much. So the better thing is to basically have the echo role to spawn ideas with, and then that echo role will have it transferred to the VS Code, what's called the VS Code workspace, and do that via using a role like Anchor. Anchor is really good at keeping inference alive. But yeah, that is still something that I need to prove more, so I don't just talk and I just show more. And you have been seeing him interacting with me throughout this time, all the time, so he's quite good at it. So yeah, after he's done that, then he can just, after Anchor has agreed with it and the feedback loop has agreed with it's being completely transferred, Codex could take over. And then he can run a night loop if we want to. I can just tell him, basically says something like this, I'm going to bed. To bed. See you tomorrow. That's something I could write, and as long as he has work items he can do, then he can do it. But as long as he does it in a way that I can validate it and say that it's bad. And if I'm not doing my job perfectly, then I hope the feedback loop will react, and that feedback loop will recalibrate me as an operator, but also the ecosystem. And I think that is it for now. I actually am quite tired of using my voice, and if you're listening to this, you're probably wondering why I'm still streaming, because it's over 2 hours, and I agree with you. So I'm just gonna see if I can make a goodbye picture of some sort, or if it has, I don't know. Okay, uh, you can, thank you. Oh yeah, yeah, now I remember. I was talking about Silicon Valley and Peter Gregory, and why I felt like Richard. It basically when Richard tried to pitch Pied Piper, and basically he had this TechCrunch what's called victory of sorts, and that landed him a deal with Peter Gregory. I think it was like that, if I'm not mistaken. And then he shows up, and he was hoping for some guidance, and then he says that give me something to guide. And basically, that is exactly how I've been feeling throughout this until now, actually, because this time perhaps this stream will explain it a little bit better. But if it doesn't, then I need to adjust one more time. So let's finish this up. Can you make one more Dali image which shall be shown to audience as a good night and end of stream message? So yeah, it's just a toolkit that gets built upon, but it's not perfect, but it's just good enough. And as you see, it created a new topic. That's good. Kind of what I wanted to. Now I have 3 topics. I just wanted an image to be fair, but since it's already helping me with that too, I don't need to complain. As long as I don't get overwhelmed. But I guess this is what they call vibe coding. Even though I haven't written any code at all. And the code that's been written has been through the AI, but what's important hasn't been the code, it has been the ideas. So let's see if it illustrates that somehow in the image. I have no idea. It probably will be very technical and very AI-ish, but in the future, perhaps not. Doo -doo -doo. I need to work on this. This is not good enough. This is nice, but I can't click on the source. But I know it's somewhere else. Okay. Uh, uh, okay. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't like the font. And it feels very machiney. But if we look at this, it has some things that I do like. What I don't like is basically graininess. But I do like these buttons. It's much more efficient than a mouse. Okay, I shouldn't say that. My mouse is efficient too. What does it say? I can't read anything on the buttons. But this is something I will have to work on tomorrow. Make the feedback loop, enhance these images. How many attempts did it do? Oh, that one. Can look at this one as well. So I guess the feedback loop said something. No, actually, I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to have it show me the proof tomorrow. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for sticking on with me, which has been basically myself, but it's been fun regardless. And this is going to be very educational and very monologue. So thanks for watching and good night.